And although figures on the Ghana Health Service website remain unchanged, 7 new cases of the virus have also been recorded in the Ashanti and the eastern regions. As more tests are being conducted, we are live in the two regions as contact tracing begins.
We have also started rounding up their immediate contact. Samples have been taken and sent to Noguchi. As at the end of yesterday, we had taken a total of 819 samples, and we have results for about 50% of them.
Also tonight, we ask, is Ghana ready to return to normalcy as President Akufo-Addo engages church leaders, the Council of State, on the best approach to lifting the ban on social gatherings?
When would it be prudent for us to lift them? What stage do we have envisaged lifting the ban on public gatherings? What stage should we have our schools reopen again?
Tonight we'll hear from the churches as they pledge support to government's intervention. Plus we'll hear from some Christians on how the shutdown of churches has impacted on their Christian life. And later, we explore the President's choice of fabric and its significance in the national broadcast on the coronavirus pandemic. You want to stay with us for the details, plus in business.
Port Health Authority to prevent passengers with high temperature exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19 from boarding domestic flights, with details of the new protocols put in place at our airports.
John, with your views and comments, send me a WhatsApp 0244340437. My name is Evans Mensah. And tonight there are several new cases of the coronavirus being recorded in many parts of the country, in the Ashanti region, in the eastern region, and the very latest in the last few minutes from the northern region, where we understand that 2 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 is now being recorded. This brings to the total 13 from the previous 11 in that region alone. The 2 who are locals with no travel history are said to be from Lameshugu and Moshizongo, all in the Tamale metropolis. Even though the details of the case are yet to be out, Joy News gathered they are adult male and female as well. We're waiting for some updates on this from the Ghana Health Service, but we can go live now to the region and bring in the Northern Regional Health Director, Dr. John Aliza, who joins us on the telephone line right now. Thank you very much for your time here on News Night. So, what more do we know about these 2 confirmed cases?
These 2 confirmed cases, I must say, patients that are reported in our facilities. A female reported in one of our facilities with symptoms very suggestive of COVID-19. He had fever, headache, cough, sore throat. And so when he reported it, it was suspected and samples was taken. This was taken on the 17th of April and then sent to Kumasi where we do our tests. And yesterday we had the report as being positive. And the male also reported in another facility as having malaise, and actually requested that he be tested for COVID-19, and we obliged, and it also came out as positive. So we had that report last night that these 2 cases from Tamale are positive for COVID-19.
Are they in quarantine now?
Yes, they are now in our treatment center. They are in our treatment center.
And
the center is located in the teaching hospital, so they are in the treatment center.
Have contact tracing begun?
Yeah, that began in the morning. Since morning, the team has been in the field.
Have you?
The lady happened to be a person involved in marketing, so he had some arrangement, some store in the market where we had to go and try to get all those around the area who have been having a contact with her, and then as well as the house, and then the neighbors. The male, the same thing. He directed us to the house, and that's house that we test all the family members for him. So we are doing just that, and we're trying to get as many contacts as they will introduce to us.
So the total cases you have now in the northern region comes down to what, 13?
So as a region now, we have 13 cases. But let me just explain. Originally we had 10 cases, all of which were foreigners. One of which absconded, so we had 9 active cases that were left, which we had treated. And last week, fortunately for us, 6 of those cases had tested negative 2 consecutive times, which means that they have recovered. So out of those 9 that we're treating, 6 have recovered, and we are left with 3 that are still testing positive. Before another one came, that's a day before, making it 11 cases that have been reported. That's also in the treatment center now. And that one happened to come from Upper East, Bolga to be specific. So we have liaised with our counterparts in the Upper East for them to do the contact tracing in the environment of the gentleman whilst we are managing the case in Tamale here.
None of your cases are in need of ventilators or critical?
No. Luckily for us, all the cases we have had, apart from one that was already undergoing dialysis before we detected that it was having, none of them had been critical. And interestingly, we found out that after dialysis, the lady became very stable and is one of the people who have actually recovered.
That's very interesting. That is the law of unforeseen circumstances they're playing out. But I'm curious. You mentioned the time the samples were taking. I think you mentioned one of the 2 new cases, the sample was taken on the 17th, but you got the results, if I'm not mistaken, 3 days later.
Yeah, you are right. That is the challenge we have, because samples are now coming from various districts and regions to Kumasi. They are overwhelmed. Originally, when we had the initial cases, they didn't have too much to do. So we had, within 10 hours of sending a sample, we received the results. But of late, we are having the challenge of having to wait a few days before we get the results, which makes both the staff and then the patients and relatives very restless whilst we wait for the results.
And even more seriously, the more you wait and you don't know, the more possibility there is that this potentially positive patient may be infecting more people because you don't know yet if he's positive.
So the good thing about the arrangement we've made is that once we suspect and take a sample on you, you are quarantined. You are no longer allowed to mingle with the public until we get your results. That also has this challenge. So whilst we try to protect the people from mingling, we have to house some of these people, and at times where to house them or feeding them becomes a challenge to the institutions.
And a very important lesson we're also learning from the way this is being handled globally is also, I get your point about once you suspect, you isolate and you wait for the results. However, the challenge is, and as we heard the WHO say, test, so that you can find even asymptomatic ones that may also be shedding the virus, so you can isolate them early before they even show symptoms. It doesn't appear to me that you are set up yet to do that sort of testing in the northern region.
I would have loved to do that. 1, if we have enough test kits, and then 2, if the lab will not be overwhelmed, because we are actually having the pipeline now to get the Tamale Public Health Reference Lab also start testing. But the arrangement is still uncompleted, so we have to still rely on Kumasi. And you can imagine if we start doing mass testing now, the test results may take even more than a week to reach us, and that will even make people more agitated and restless if we start doing that. But we hope that from the promise that come next week, they will see that our lab can start operating. If they do that, then we can put more effort in testing as much as we can, because now we will not have to travel any long distance and then to go and join a queue elsewhere. and we'll be able to reach more people and pick up more of the asymptomatic people among the public who are infecting others.
How are you transporting the samples to KCCR in Konfanoche for the test? Is it by vehicle or by drone?
By vehicle.
By vehicle. That is an estimated what? 6 plus hours.
Yeah, from here to Kumasi, minimum 5 hours.
Yes, that's a long journey, and then back, correct? And then back.
Yes.
Goodness
and
me.
That also have a cost because you are burning fuel. Because in a week or at times in a day, you have a car will move in the morning with a number of samples, and then later in the day another one has to move because you have enough samples and you don't want to be keeping them here.
Well, I'm grateful. Just before you go, do you have any timeline as to when the lab there would start the testing? Do you have any vague idea when that could get started?
Sorry, I can't give you that line because the decision as to when the job completed lies in the technical people that are coming from Kumasi. So not until they give me a briefing when they arrive, I can't tell exactly when we'll start operating our labs here.
Okay, I'm grateful, sir, that you joined me. That is the Northern Regional Health Director there talking to us about their own cases going up tonight. And we're going to have a special show tonight with the interrogating the science. Some of the questions you were putting, and I've seen a lot of your questions about testing and what a testing capacity really is. We'll be putting those questions to Dr. Ba, who coordinates the government's COVID-19 response. Also, Dr. Nsiansari also will join us to take all these questions and to give us some timelines to when some of these decentralized testing will kick start. I want to take you to the Ashanti region now because we're learning tonight that the authorities there are now going ahead with a lot of voluntary testing for COVID-19, going into communities where people there have been exposed. It comes after 5 new cases were recorded from 204 samples taken at the Konfanoche Teaching Hospital. Speaking at the media briefing earlier, the health director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Emmanuel Tinkran, revealed the voluntary testing was necessary as it forms part of measures to curtail the spread of the virus.
We also have what we call the mass screening. Under the mass screening, we have certain hotspots in the region. The hotspots are areas where we've isolated cases. And then all the households around where we've isolated cases will go into what we call voluntary testing. All of them will be tested, but this one is voluntary. And then those who are positive will be enrolled, as we said, and then followed up. We are also considering testing high-risk groups. The high-risk groups are the frontline workers, drivers, taxi drivers, Uber drivers, market women, and those who are selling the market. These are the people who usually come into contact with a lot of people. And then they will also be enrolled into what we call the voluntary testing. So they will first it's voluntary, but they will be tested.
Well, so that's the story there with the Ashanti region itself. And I want to bring in Professor Richard Odami-Phillips, who is a scientific, he's a doctor with the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research. Now, he says the center is re-strategizing to expand this testing capacity due to increased samples of the COVID-19. You already had the situation in the north. Sending samples all the way, 5-hour plus journey, and back to the KCCR. The KCCR itself is now feeling the pressure. Listen to the scientific doctor in charge of the facility, Professor Richard Odami-Phillips.
So we are trying. Sometimes people claim the results are not coming quicker. Previously, within 6 hours, 12 hours, you have your results. But there is a lot of pressure. Everybody wants his result the next day. Whether the person is well or sick. I tell them that, they shouldn't worry. Because those who are sick, for me, there has to be a priority for them. Those that really need it urgently have it. But as much as possible, we try that, like within 48 hours, we try to get that. But we are receiving a lot of samples now. Sometimes about 2,800 samples in a day. And we can do about 800 tests. We started with below 100, and then people will ask us, we say, okay, we can hit between 300 and 500. Now we're already on 800, and we are thinking about how to push it higher, because people need it quicker. So every day we are re-strategizing, rethinking how we approach it.
And that's Professor Richard Odami Phillips, who's a scientific director at the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research. Let's now take you to the Eastern region, where contact tracing for 2 newly confirmed cases of COVID-19 has begun in Okapi North Municipality. Health officials there say already 12 persons have been contacted, while results for some 400 samples taken are yet to be received. The Eastern region has recorded 51 positive cases, becoming the region with the 3rd highest number of COVID-19 positive cases after Greater Accra and the Ashanti regions. But speaking on the pulse on the Joy News channel, the Eastern Regional Director of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Alberta Brichum-Nyako, noted the samples of their immediate contacts have already been taken to Noguchi.
The 2 cases are doing very well. Both of them are asymptomatic. They are travelers that had returned and had been put on mandatory quarantine. And our case management team have moved in to assess them. They are asymptomatic. They don't have any complaints. But every day we check them up. And we have also started rounding up their immediate contacts. Samples have been taken and sent to Noguchi. It's also important to note that we have sent several samples. As I speak now, as at the end of yesterday, we had taken a total of 819 samples. And we have results for about 50% of them. So every now and then, as the results are ready, we would receive some negative results and maybe some positive results. But our team is always ready to do the needful. These people were under quarantine. Apart from the one that I said interacted with a few more people and has given us the list, the other one has actually been at home all the time. So her contacts are just 1 or 2 people. It's the other one who has other household members, and therefore we took samples from about 8 people. And the other people that she has roped in, maybe about 6. But it's just because she interacted with others. So what I'm saying is that, when it comes to contact tracing, you are often not able to generate the list at one sitting.
Okay. So far, how many people are you contact tracing?
For the Ekrapin case.
For the 2 cases, yes, please.
I would say right now maybe 12.
Well, so that is the story with the Eastern region. So globally, across the country, the number officially on the Ghana Health Service website still remains the 1,042. However, as we see the numbers in other parts of the country now being recorded, obviously the number is expected to go up. Now, in the midst of all that, the big question is when Ghana can return to a semblance of normal life. Yes, the lockdown has been lifted, but far from normalcy. We still have restrictions imposed on social gathering, and the answer to the question of when to lift it all so we can all return to the life that we knew before coronavirus is one that the President and his key advisors have been thinking through quite carefully. Well, today the President has been meeting with religious leaders, again discussing that same question. The fear is that there could be a spike in the number of infections if the country is totally opened prematurely. Well, at Jubilee House today, the President engaged the leaders of the churches and the Council of State on the way forward.
The impact of the virus is not just a health hazard. It has large social, economic, and even, if you like, political consequences. Political in the larger sense of the polity, the Ghanaian community, how this disease is impacting us. So the considerations that have to be brought to bear, are not exclusively the health. Health, of course, has to be priority. But many other considerations are also now being fed into the basket that we have to look at. And one, of course, is the nature of our society, the structure of our economy, an economy in which the overwhelming number of people are in the informal sector, who are having to go out into the marketplace of work every day to try and earn something to be able to look after their families. So these are all the considerations that we had to look at and made the decision that having received sufficient information, we were now in a stronger position to go after the virus. And it is therefore the background to the decision to lift the partial lockdown of Accra and Kumasi. In doing so, we have insisted that the other measures that were still in place, which are still in place, needed to continue. These measures that we have taken cannot be a permanent feature of our national life. We cannot live in Ghana just year after year under these conditions. We have to find a way to continue our existence, the development of our country, the development of our economy. The ban of public gatherings that affects the churches affects each one of you. It will be a good moment for us to meet again and exchange views, share views as to the way forward for our country. These are the measures that are in place. When will it be prudent for us to lift them? At what stage do we envisage lifting the ban on public gatherings? At what stage should we have our schools reopen again? When can we open our borders? And for that exercise, I think that your input, the decisions the government should be, is invaluable. And that's why I asked you to come today. Following on that, there are some of the things that are part of our new reality that has to continue. The personal hygiene, the teachings on personal hygiene, the teachings on social distancing, not shaking hands. We have to continue the messaging on these matters.
Well, we also heard today from the chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana, Right Reverend Dr. Paul Kwabena Boafo, who said the church is hard hit by the ban on social gatherings. He pledged support, though, for all the initiatives that the president has taken.
Today, as we meet to look at the way forward, myself and my colleagues, we are saying that we would continue, first, to play our role as the places of hope for our people. When it comes to the church, we stand in, and in our live streaming and the way we have reached our people, we have brought hope to them, we've brought a sense of healing, and in that they have also looked up to God, the one who can see us through this pandemic. And the church will continue to do that. Even as we sit here, we've just closed from a meeting where all of us have come together to organize a 3-day national prayer and fasting program starting Friday through this very week, which is part of our response to the COVID-19 pandemic and how Ghana is also helping to fight it. This is an exercise in which all of us coming together virtually, praying and asking for God's intervention and His direction as we go through this pandemic.
And the chairman of the Christian Council of Ghana, Right Reverend Dr. Paul Kwabena Boafo, as you know, most churches have resorted to delivering these sermons online. Well, church has gone virtual, on television also, following the ban on social gatherings. It's becoming the new normal for Christians to go to church virtually. So how has this affected your life as a Christian? My colleague, Mamesi Thompson, went out to find out from a few Christians we spoke to.
No, it's affecting our spiritual life.
We accept the fact that we don't have a choice, that we have to be online for church sermon. But to me, I feel it's better we go to the church.
When you go to church, you be in the spirit. I see you be with your friends, praises, you be dancing, then you be in the spirit. Online, I feel so bored. Even when I'm watching it, I'll fall asleep. I don't pray like if I go to church, how I'll pray.
The feeling to me wasn't like you being in the church. or having a sermon like you feel the presence of the Lord. It's not like that.
Oh, it's far different. Because when there is no lockdown, you can go to the temple or the church hall and worship together. But now we cannot do it. We are worrying about it.
We did it in a platform, in a WhatsApp form. I don't feel like the way I met my pastor one-on-one, how to preach to us here and there. So this one, I don't feel it. I don't really just enjoy it.
Well, and although many churches encourage their congregants to pay their offerings and tithes online, and they have deployed many virtual payment platforms for this, Momo, etc. Well, some now tell us, and some of the Christians who go to church now virtually say it's becoming difficult now to keep up with the payment of tithes and offerings.
They have this short codes you can send when you go.
Also, you've been paying.
But ever since this lockdown has been, we haven't been able to pay. Like, we don't pay offering nowadays.
They shouldn't worry the members and to pay their tithes.
You don't collect mobile money for offerings?
No, sir. No, madam.
Do you pay your tithes to your church?
I pay.
How do you do that?
Oh, I pay through what I said.
We don't pay tithes again. We don't pay offering. We don't do anything.
So what do you do with your offering money?
We spend it now.
We have some numbers. After service, you send the money on Momo, and you have some other people taking the offering. So you send it.
The money that I used to pay offering, maybe Sunday, I'll keep it. So after this lockdown and everything, when I go to church, I won't pay all at once.
I want to bring in the former General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana, Reverend Opuni Frimpong. Joins us on the telephone line right now. Thank you, sir, for your time. I'm just curious. We've had in the meeting with the president to talk about how this is affecting, the church. In your own church, and as a pastor yourself, what's your own experience with this period of uncertainty and how this is impacting on religious worship?
Yeah, thank you, Evans. And let me say good evening to your cherished listeners. And maybe make this correction also. I'm not the secretary of the...
Former general secretary of the party.
Okay. Yes, that you are right. But on the whole, Evans, we as a nation, we can congratulate ourselves what we've been able to do together as a people, and also our leaders, how we have managed ourselves as a people, considering our challenges, economic challenges, and others, what we have and what we don't have, and how we have just together faced this storm is very encouraging. And I pray and hope until it's completely over, we must encourage ourselves, we must encourage our leaders, our media personnel, and all the others, that we hold ourselves together and see the end of this storm. Now, to me, the real challenge for the church when it comes to what we are talking about, it's not so much monies that other pastors will get money or they are not getting money. We find strength in our closeness. I remember we had a program with you, with Sheikh Arimiya. For us as Ghanaians and as Christians, in fact, we find strength in our closeness. And now closeness has become a vulnerability. And what we have been able to do, again, with modern day technology, Facebook, media house, and other platforms, that we have something that has not been done over the years. On online, we've been preaching, reaching out, and there are pastors who are still going around sharing food and
but with the online church services, what's your assessment of it? Are people, and the people we spoke to say some of them find it difficult to sort of come to terms with not being in the building. What's your own observation? Are your church members okay, cool, comfortable with it?
Yeah, that's why I say it's a challenge. This new normal, this distance, challenge it's something we have never seen before. This is something not only in Ghana, all over the world. So it came to us as a surprise, but it is true. I mean, if you are talking about YouTube, Facebook, even it depends on the mobile phone you are using and the network you are using and the level of education and people who are around you who can even help you access certain resources. So it is true, depending on who you talk to and the background of a particular congregation, members of a particular congregation, it is true that some have been cut off. But again, even though some cannot access the modern day network technology, but the local languages like multimedia, your other groups, Adom FM and Adom TV, you find even those who can go to such platforms, Adom TV, Adom FM, and others, your sister stations, have made significant contributions. So, on the whole, this is something we've never seen before. And like I said earlier on, how we have managed to hold our closeness together, because this social distancing virtually, that keep your distance. But how do we do it? And at least how we manage to do it is encouraging. So to me, it's not so much that churches are getting money, church members are giving money, but how we begin to...
I get the point about, it's not about that, but that is also a central pillar of Christianity, is it not? I mean, the given part. And we've heard those who spoke to on the street say, it's become difficult now. If you're in the church, you're encouraged to put it in the offering basket. Now you have to do it on Momo. That definitely must be an issue now.
Yeah, but even this period, I have known churches, big and small, that and then individuals who are even, in fact, there was a particular day I found a pastor and his elders. It was raining. Where I live, and we're even going through the rain distributing material to their members, and I felt so touched and so encouraged, and beginning, we weren't sure how the future would look like when this thing, the lockdown idea, started emerging. Now, what will happen? You see, so yes, churches need money, but even in our challenges, our difficulties, churches that have even donated to institutions, state institutions, and others, and not only church. I have seen Muslims and traditional leaders of government and other individuals. Now, we must identify that side of us that have emerged during this crisis and see going into the future how we'll be able to strengthen that communal, that sense of belonging that have emerged out of this recent challenge, this new normal that we are finding ourselves in.
I'm grateful that you could join us, Reverend Opudifin Pond, former General Secretary of the Christian Council of Ghana. A few of your messages so far. Kofi says God is everywhere. So those claiming that they have to be in church, in the building, to be in the spirit, should know that worshiping of God is in the heart and not in the church room. Walanyo says, let us be meaningful citizens towards the COVID-19 to keep personal safety precautions, and the fact the lockdown has been lifted doesn't warrant us to be roaming aimlessly in town. Coronavirus is still in town. Stay home, stay safe. Gilbert says, why do we have to transport samples from Tamale to Kumasi by road? A journey of more than 5 hours. Where are the drones? Wouldn't they be more effective for this purpose? Josephine from Kumasi says, how can you still report cases and say you lift ban on movement? All the donations made in loans given this government, they can feed the lockdown areas. This one says, please, if the female samples were taken on 17th April, and test results came yesterday, 20th April. Quarantining and contact tracing started this morning. God help us. And I guess you're referring to the story about the new cases recorded in the northern region. Good evening, Evans. Please ask members of Parliament and the Ministry of Health why the drones are not being used to transport the samples from the regions to Kumasi. Well, the President says the drones are being used elsewhere, and I guess it hasn't been used yet for that commute between Tamale and Kumasi. If the drones procured by the government can deliver blood within some few minutes, then it should also be used for transporting blood samples for suspected COVID-19 patients for testing. Kofi Center Star 1 as well. I want to hear more from you. If you have more to share with us, please feel free to do so. Send me a WhatsApp 0244 340437. Still ahead here on Newsnight, we explore the President's choice of fabric and its significance to the national broadcast on the coronavirus pandemic.
The other day it was a Nigerian soldier. Even if your eyes are red, it doesn't light a fire. On Sunday it was a bofa, dadiefa, half steel, half rock.
Also, later, Ghana drops for the second consecutive time on latest press freedom rankings as it degraded to 30th position in the world and third in Africa. We'll hear from government and media advocacy groups in the wake of the decline on the World Press Freedom Index. That's after business with Charles. Hello, Charles.
Hi, Evan. So coming up in business, port health authorities to prevent passengers with high temperature or exhibit any symptoms of the novel coronavirus from boarding domestic flights, with details of the new protocols put in place at our airports. Also, insurance industry supports the COVID-19 Trust Fund with more than 1 million cedis. Business on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN. Welcome to a new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all office essential. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you?
My family loves visiting me. Because I've got the super reliable and super fast 4G plus MTN Turbonet. And with this super fast MTN Turbonet, it's non-stop fun and entertainment for the whole family at my house.
Wow, I finally Grandma, this is so amazing. Connect your home and entertain your family at the speed of yellow. Get an MTN Turbonet today and stay connected to the things that matter most. Only on Ghana's fastest network. Dial *5057# to purchase an internet bundle today. We day for you everywhere you go.
Mr. Barr has big dreams for his business, Barr & Co. Limited, and his family, making them a reality man to long drives and queues. He's lost precious time struggling to pay his suppliers in China, Turkey, India, and other parts of the world. With the First National Bank global payment via our online banking enterprise, he now pays for all that in the convenience of his home or office, giving him time to focus on family and growing his business. Use our online banking enterprise to access Forex when you need it. It takes a bank that does more to help your family. So who's helping yours? First National Bank. How can we help you?
We give you nothing but the best. We stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
Joy 99.7 FM, radio for the discerning listener.
And you're welcome to Business on Newsnight. Now, port authorities at the Kotoka International Airport have warned they will deny passengers with high temperature or exhibiting symptoms of COVID-19 from boarding flights. Director of Public Health at the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Bedisa Kodia, told Joy Business that the directive is part of stringent measures to be implemented at all airports to help prevent the spread of COVID-19 as domestic flights gear up to begin operations this week. Dr. Bedisa Kodia spoke to my colleague Sheila Tamaklo.
Well, the challenge with that is it's very obvious because there are many asymptomatic people without who are not showing any symptom. They are not showing temperature, and as we've heard already, the literature say they shed the virus. In fact, they infect quite as aggressively as anybody else. And so, if I'm walking into the flight right now and I'm not showing symptom, but I'm possibly positive and I don't know yet, that creates. My question is whether or not in the plane itself, as they are asking the drivers to do in trotros, are they spacing them out? I guess is the question we have to ask after we listen to the report.
The screening of passengers will continue, and as much as possible, the various passengers, we would make sure that we screen for signs and symptoms, check for temperatures, and then ask if the people are coming from affected areas in the country. Indeed, we will not mention outside, because for now we are aware that the various borders are closed. But within the country, there are areas affected. The use of the health declaration form would enable us to establish if people are coming from this area, and then to pay particular attention to such people, whether they have been in contact with affected people, whether they have been in contact with non-confirmed cases. These would be well monitored and followed up. And if there are suspected cases, we have to link these people to the various districts so that they can be adequately monitored and then followed up.
Now, if somebody's temperature is checked and perhaps the person is showing some symptoms, does it imply that the person will be denied boarding?
So if you are having temperature, if you are coughing, and you think that you will pose a risk once you get on board, we have to restrain you and not to permit. But then this will require that there is dialogue between the airline operators, dialogue between the airport operators, and then general information to the people in the airport.
So, interesting points there from Bedisa Kodia.
Exactly.
But the question is there any part of the protocols for flying domestically that includes social distancing within the plane?
In fact, it's part of their high priorities. So what this means is that if you're going to be sitting in a row of two people, you're going to be sitting in that particular seat of two alone. So you're not going to be having someone sit next to you. And the spacing we're understanding could be 2 seats between 2 passengers. So you're not going to be expecting 1 seat between 2 people, because remember that they'll have to observe this, at least 2 meters or even 3 meter distance between each passenger. So it's part of the priorities, but it still raises questions about the cost involved.
Yeah.
And
serious cost.
Having these domestic.
So if what you're saying is what is going to happen, so the 2 seats, in those domestic flights, 2 seats may be to the left and then 1 seat to the right, and then there is the aisle.
Exactly.
So what you're saying is that for every row there is going to be 2 people.
Exactly.
And then 1 seat is going to be vacant.
Exactly.
And then looking forward, you have 2 seats, 1 seat empty, and then you have another person there. That's going to be a virtually empty plane.
But it's all.
I wonder how the airlines are going to bear that cost.
They have no option at this particular moment, and we must add to that all passengers would have to be wearing their nose mask. It's also part of
before you board.
Exactly. So these are some of the safety measures that they are putting in place to ensure that.
Are they increasing flight costs to sort of make up for the loss that they are going to incur?
I might be considering, but it's not on the table at this particular moment. But we shall be monitoring closely to give listeners the details as and when we do have them. We want to, gauge other scenes regarding COVID-19 and contributions, because the insurance industry in Ghana has made donations totaling over 1 million cedis in support of the COVID-19 Trust Fund. Now, this forms part of efforts to help government contain, if not stop the spread of COVID-19 in the country. Let's hear from Justice Yaofori, the Commissioner of the National Insurance Commission, who presented the check, as well as the former Chief Justice, Gloria Kufu, who received the donation on behalf of government.
To support our government in the fight against this COVID-19, this is not a battle that we should leave for the government alone.
We're most grateful to you, to the board, to the management, to the staff. This is a very significant contribution, and we promise you that we will use every peswa towards the purposes for which the trust fund has been set up and for which you have made this laudable contribution.
Well, and that was the donation there by the insurance industry, Justice Yaofori, the commissioner, making that donation to the former Chief Justice, Gloria Akufo. Just before we leave, gold exporting firm Gold Ridge Ghana Limited has donated items including hand sanitizers to the Operation COVID Safety Committee in the Greater Accra region. The gesture, according to the Chief Executive, Dr. Nana Yao Dodo, is to improve upon the welfare of security personnel deployed to enforce safety protocols against COVID-19.
COVID-19 measures that the government put in place. They've been on the streets. They've been very, very supportive to make sure that the measures that the government put in place will be followed by the citizens. That is why I chose to come to the Central Police today to thank our policemen, and to still motivate them. Even though there's a lift up on the lockdown, I think we still need to take precautions.
And that was Dr. Nana Yao Dodo, Chief Executive of gold exporting firm Gold Ridge Ghana Limited, ending business on Newsnight.
Charles, thank you very much. Now, she's a mother of 7 who spends at least 5 cedis every morning on water for her daily chores. Adjoa Sewa's face is one of the many that lit up when the Ghana Police Service showed up with their tankers at Ofankor to give out free water to the community. PSA Nana Yao Safo was there and has more in the following report.
They turned up in their numbers almost immediately the tankers arrived. A queue of pans, varied buckets, and barrels were quickly assembled around the tank. There were similar scenes in other neighborhoods in Ofankor where the police sent their water tankers. The crowd lamented how bad the water situation is in the area and how much it's costing them to get potable water.
Because you're so bored, you are high and in crown. So, also, about a best senior, my best make 5 cities and walk on so. Would be a senior master, would be a judge alliance. And I don't massify, I don't matter.
Adjoa Sewa is a resident here. She says it's quite hard for them to have water supply within the vicinity, and that in order to do her basic chores, that's washing, bathing, and others, she spends at least 5 cities every morning. Afternoon and evening are not even inclusive of that. So with this, she's very relieved because it has saved her some money to go about her duties.
The senior police officer who accompanied the water tankers explained it was a gesture from the police to assist vulnerable communities.
The IGP started this to mobilize our tankers, identify some areas that are needy in terms of water, to supply them with water for free. That's why we are here.
DSP Peter Autry, who is Director of Transportation at the Ghana Police Service, tells me they intend to reach out to more communities.
If you contact our hotline, the police hotline, if you contact them, they'll contact our Public Affairs Department, they will tell us. Then we are planning the community that will serve within the week. So if you call us and we are not really available, don't be worried that maybe we will not come.
The residents could not hold back their joy.
Quarantine by or the boy, mamma, and papa.
She says she's very grateful to the Ghana Police Service and authorities, especially the Assemblywoman, for efforts that they have put into getting them quality water supply so far.
Oh, police fund the no quadding and coupon money. One my idea, man, so yenny, and I dear on my end. And mamma can think I got about 20. I would do some surprise.
Lydia Santoa is also grateful to the valiant police service for their duties.
Assemblywoman for Ofankor North, Dili Humus Said, assured residents she is working assiduously with the Ghana Water Company to resolve supply challenges in the community.
Thank you to Ghana Police Service, thank you to His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo Dankwa for also giving us free water in my community of Ofankor North. As I speak to you now, I am in communication with the Ghana Water Manager, Mr. Clifford Reimer, because Ghana Water too has also been supportive enough to my community. They've been giving me water. But we want the pipe laid. We want the pipes to be laid, the layers to be laid.
Have they given you any timelines when they will do this?
No.
DSP Autry says the lack of functioning hydrants and disregard for social distancing are the 2 major issues they are having to grapple with in their efforts to augment the work of Ghana Water Company in this COVID-19 era.
It's very hectic though. We will be asking them to go back. You arrange them. No, because we are trying to let them understand or observe the social distance. Major challenge is getting water hydrants. Normally what we do is that we draw the water from our police training school, bring them to the community, serve them. After that, we have to go back, we have to travel all the way, wherever we are, back to training, our police training to draw the water. Tesano, and we are here. Look at the distance between here and then.
It may take a while for the Ghana Water Company to resolve supply challenges confronting the people of Ofankor. For now, though, they are grateful that the police came to their rescue.
Well, the Ghana Police Service winning hearts and minds. So listening to News 90 on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, Ghana has dropped 3 places on the latest press freedom rankings. Last year, Reporters Without Borders ranked the country 27th out of 180 countries, but there's a drop this year, with Ghana ranked 30th on the Press Freedom Index. In 2018, the country was ranked 23rd in the world and number 1 in Africa. Where Alton Brobe has more. Do we know the reasons?
Well, Evans, according to the Press Freedom House, although Ghana continues to be seen as one of the most democratic countries in Africa, with a constitution that guarantees media pluralism and independence, a third of the media are owned by states or by businessmen linked to the government. However, a group of investigative journalists had to spend part of 2018 in hiding after producing a documentary about Ghana's soccer corruption. A ruling party parliamentarian who had been named in the documentary publicly threatened one of the journalists without ever being arrested or questioned. The journalist was shot dead in the streets a few months later. The investigation announced by the authorities has grounded to a halt. Investigative reporters are often threatened even if journalists are really arrested. The vast majority of cases of police aggression against journalists go unpunished, and yet timid attempts have been made to combat this impunity. In the breakdown, Ghana's abuse was 47, whilst underlying situation score was 16.8 and global score of 22.6, Evans.
But they mentioned some progress, however, made by some state institutions.
Rightly so, and they indicate that 3 policemen were suspended after attacking journalists in 2019. A law on access to state-held information was finally adopted as the Right Information Law 20 years after it was first introduced in Parliament.
I want to bring in the Ghana Journalists Association now, the GJA's Secretary Kofi Yeboah on the line. Your reaction to this, Ms. Yeboah?
Yeah, Evans, thank you very much. I think it's a very unfortunate situation. At a point in time, about 2 years ago, we were even number 1 in Africa. But as we speak now, we are number 3 in Africa. And we have dropped further to number 30 in the world. I think it is very unfortunate because all of these go to undermine our integrity and image. You know, we have struck up a lot of statistics around the world as being one of the best democracies in Africa. So when we get to hear some of these things happening, it then reduces our image in the eyes of the international world. So it is very.
I get the central question now is how do we regain our enviable sport, 1 on the continent and 2 across the globe?
I think on the part of the GJ, what we've been seeking to do beyond our normal actions of issuing press statements and then also in recent times taking legal action, we have made efforts to try and engage. Over the years, we've been trying to engage the security agencies. We were in that process before the former IGP was moved out. And when the new IGP also came, we've tried to re-establish contact with him to continue that engagement. He's been a very media-friendly person as far as we can tell, and so we are hoping that with that positive signal, we'll be seeing improvement.
Okay, I'm grateful that you could join us with your thoughts. That's the GJ Secretary, Kofi Yeboah. Well, so listen to News Night. It's on Joy 99.7 FM, and he is Joy News' longest-serving regional correspondent, loved by many across the world for his unique reporting skills and use of the English language. Yes, you guessed right. Rafiq Salam has shown that to succeed, one's location means very little, but with hard work and dedication, you can reach the skies and even go beyond. He has gone from struggling for a role at Joy FM to doing award-winning stories and touching lives with his journalism. In this special report, my colleague Justice Bedu went to meet him at his base in the Upper West Regional Capital. I guess, let me borrow from him. Wow. This is Rafiq Salam.
My name is Rafiq Salam. I was born some 44 years ago. My father's children, we are 27, and I'm the 24th born of my father.
On a ride about town, Joy News' famed Rafiq Salam in the city he calls the best place on earth. Rafiq's 15-year journey to Joy News is one of resilience.
I got the opportunity to work with Joy FM reporting on an accident in 2006. The following day, I had another call from Matilda Asante. They wanted me to speak about now what was like when they sacked the municipal chief executive. I told her that I won't go. She said, why are you not going? I said, I am not working for Joy FM and you can't be pushing me around. And so Matilda said that it's like you, a man of little patience. Would you like to work with Joy FM? I said, of course.
The Upper West region was created 37 years ago.
Rafiq has been on nearly every beat, and his work has produced results.
There is no replacement for Rafiq Salam. He's gone after the marginalized and has brought out their stories in a way that has attracted the attention of the world.
I didn't know that I was always saying Rafiq Salam. Wow. It was Hannah Odami who drew my attention. One day that I did a report and I didn't add the wa. And then Hannah said, oh, you didn't add a signature tune. I said, what is that? She said, oh, you always say Rafiq Salam wa. I want you to do it for me. After that, all the reports that I was doing, I started doing.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam wa.
My name is Evans Mensah, reporting from the studios here at Joy 99.7 FM, and to the Jubilee House next, because the President Akufo-Addo, since Ghana recorded her first case of COVID-19, undertook 6 national broadcasts to the nation on measures by government to tackle the pandemic. But each broadcast came with a specific fabric, I don't know if you noticed, which communicates the import of the message. But what are its significance? Well, the chairman of the Council of State, Nana Otto Srebo, who is also the Omanhene of Jaba in traditional area in Ashanti region, tells us more.
I wish to congratulate you, Mr. President, for the very able manner in which you have handled the crisis that have beset this country with the advent of COVID-19. Your regular broadcast has really brought a lot of encouragement to the country, and as if by design or by accident, the clothes that you have been wearing have been depicting the mood of the country at those times. The other day it was a Nibirian soldier. Even if your eyes are red, it doesn't light a fire. On Sunday it was a bofa, dadiefa, half steel, half rock. I can go on, but these are reflections, even though unconsciously, of the spirit that has been in you. Indeed, looking at one of the speeches, it reminded me of the way Churchill conducted the affairs of Britain during the Second World War. And I said, Mr. President, this has been very Churchillian, both in your delivery and in your comportment and in the depth and content of your speech.
Well, if you didn't know, now you do. And we end News Night tonight by celebrating our frontline health workers. Tonight we leave you with a message from one of them and words of encouragement from young children to them.